Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. We are now on episode 3 of my Back to Basics, and we are looking today at mainly target selectors and target selector arguments, and I'm going to use the /testfor to help show the different selectors and arguments that why am I not blinking? That's freaky. I'm going to show the target selector arguments with the testfor. So we're going to get cracking because I've got quite a lot to get through. So I will be trying to rush through it, but not being too quick. So hopefully you can follow. Throughout, I'll be using this command, which I will get into more detail. The game rule when I do the game rule episodes, but it just turns on whether we can see or not see the command, which is up in the top left. So first of all, I'll also be using the wiki and running through. They've got all the arguments here. I'll be going through them all. So we've got at P, which is the closest player, at R, which is random, and if you specify an entity as random entities, at all players, at all entities, and at self, which is mainly for when you do a command in the chat or when you use the execute command. I won't be going through at C and at V because they're education only, which I'll do an education only special at the end. So the testfor command is testfor and then your target selector. So the syntax looks, when you type it in chat, testfor, you see that you need a victim. So testfor all will look for all players. So if I do that, we'll see that it's found me. This is all dead or alive. Then we've got the closest player, which has found me because I'm the closest player. If more than one player are in the same and are exactly the same distance between the command block, it will find the most recent person who joined the server. Then we've got all entities, which is at E. This can include players, but it's all alive entities that are in. So if it's just entities, like you're looking for cows, pigs, then it's anyone that's in a spawn radius. So if they're 1,000 blocks that way, it won't find them because they're despawned or out of the spawn chunk. But it will also find players as well. So you see that found me, it found the cows, the pigs, and I found a couple of armor stands that I have named for another target selector argument, which is down there. And then at random, because I haven't specified a type, it's just going to find a random player, and I'm the only one in the server, so it's just going to keep finding me. So they are the target selector arguments that you would use. The at S is at self. Like I said, it would be more likely an execute command, so I'll get into that when I get to the execute episode. So now all of this is all the different arguments that you can put into your target selector in brackets. So we're going to be pretty much following this list here on the wiki, except when I get to name, I'll jump to type and then do the rotations afterwards, as they're a bit tricky. So you can follow this. So with the position ones, you've got X, Y, Z, which is the X, Y, and Z coordinate, R and M, which is radius, and DX, DY, and DZ, which is volume. So the X, Y, Zs, which I'll get to after this one, we'll do a radius first, always needs either a radius or a volume argument with it, so which you will see in a second. So if I turn command output off so you don't spam the chat, what I did mention or haven't mentioned yet is you can take a comparator output out of a command block to power any redstone mechanism. So this is what I'm doing so we know that this is working. So I've got this test for all within a radius of 3. So if we check the radius, which is with distance for Java, but it was radius, you've got I was up here, sorry, R, RM, and R being the radius and RM being the maximum, the minimum, sorry. So you put minimum, this one says minimum of 8 and a radius of 16. So this one is just a radius, so within 3 of this command block. So when I go in here, you can see while I'm within the radius, it powers the command block. Now if I specify the minimum in this command block, this is minimum of 3 and radius of 5. So anywhere within this red bit, it finds me, and then when I come into the green, it doesn't find me because it's a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5. Just know that its radius is circular. It's hard to show that with blocks, so that's why it will still find me in some. I know there is a maths equation to work out the radius, but I'm not going to go there. So that's the radius. We've got a test for the X, Y, and Z, and I've specified a radius of 2. So I've got the coordinates of the block above this green one, because that's where I'll be standing. So if I'm within this box, it's going to find me. Now this one I've done relative coordinates, so X, Y, and Z. So it's X with offset of 1. So the squiggly line is relative to that command block. So squiggle, squiggle, squiggle would be this command block's position. X plus 1, so that's plus 1 this way on the X coordinate, if you look at my coordinate, my position bar on the top. And then Y is left the same because this block is the same level as that block, as the command block, so it'll stay the same. And then Z minus 3, so if you count this way, it's 1, 2, 3. So that's the coordinate of the same as this, but using relative commands. So I thought I'd just show you that for this instance. So that's what you can do. Moving on to the next one, this is your volume. So I've set up a little 5x5 box, so when I go into the box, it will find me unless I come out the box, and it's when my feet block goes in. So even if my head's poking out, my feet are within that 5x5, so it finds me. So I'll show you what it looks like. So you've got the coordinates of the block above that green one. Sorry, just type that in there. So coordinates of this block, and then for a 5x5 box, you count the X, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's because this one's already included, so it's 4 this way, 4 above, so this is already counted for this box, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again for the Z's, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that makes up the 5x5 box, this box, and then 4 in each direction. So it doesn't have to be a cube, it can be a rectangle, it can be a line if you specify one as 0, and you can test for people kind of crossing a line, but that's how you can use volume. Now this one is to test for score. Now I'm going to just put my scoreboard up. I'm not going to go into detail of how to use scoreboards, that will be in my next episode, so keep an eye out for that. I'll be doing scoreboards as a standalone. So we can, I've got a scoreboard of tests, you can see that, and I've got a score of 1. So you would test for all scores equals tests within the squiggly brackets equals 1. So that will find all players with a score of 1. So it found me. You can then make it a range by using the 2 dots. So this would be 1 or above. So that will find me. You can use it for 1 or below. So this goes from the maximum and the minimum. So it's 2.5 billion and something. Minus and plus is the limit for scores. So that will find me because I've got 1 or below. and this one would be between 1 and 10, so 1.10, and it will find me. If you have multiple scoreboards and you wanted to find them all, then you would just do a comma, second score equals 1. It's going to have a, oh no, it hasn't syntaxed yet because there's no scoreboard called that, but that's how you would test for multiple scores if you wanted to use scoreboard. So that's the score. Obviously you can use, I'm just using that all just for an example, you can use all the other target selector within the arguments. So we have a, sorry, I've got something on here that should be on. There we go. That's what happens when you leave command command block output on. So this one is tag. So we get back to it. Just make sure I've got a tag. So this is looking for a tag of test. So it's testing for all entities. Tag equals test. So you can do it with at all as well, at p, but found me because I've got the tag. The reason why I did it at entities just to show you this one. If you want to exclude, you can exclude scores, you can exclude tags, names, types, quite a lot of them actually. So if I want to find all entities without the name, the tag test, I'll do that because it didn't find me. It found the cows, found the pigs, and found the armor stands, which are named, which is why it comes up with test name. So that is the tag. I'm going to do the tag in the scoreboard episode, so I'll show you how to tag and remove tags and list them. Right, the next one is limit. So C would count the closest as a maximum. So this is test for all entities. C equals 3, so count up to 3 entities. So if I do it, is count me and it'll count 2 cows because me and 2 cows are the closest. If there was only 2, say if you're using this as a test for all players and there's only 2, it would still run true and it would still activate other command blocks if there's a this is not a minimum, it's a maximum. You could do the furthest, so if you put a minus, so C equals -3, it'll be the pigs and the armor stands because the armor stands are quite far, so it'll find both armor stands and one of the pigs, which is the furthest 3 entities from this command block. And then you can do random, so I've put type equals cow because if you didn't specify the type, then it would be random players, and there's only me in it, so it's not really going to count more than me. So if I do it again, see it's found all 3 cows even though there's 4. So that's the count. Sorry if I'm going fast, I can already see we're over 10 minutes, and I want to keep this to 1 episode rather than splitting it into 2. Feel free to comment below if you have any questions or if I missed something. I'm happy to comment and I'll try to reply to everyone. Next one is XP. If we can test for all players within a level of 10. So if I press it, I believe I've got 11. So if I go game mode survival, yeah, I've got 11. So it's just, and I'll be doing the XP commands. But where's that? There it is. So I'll put myself back to 10, and it has found me. It should find me here, and it will find me here as well. The reason being, let me show you these ones. This one is a minimum, so level minimum of 5. Well, that's more of a maximum, and then you can search for a range by specifying the minimum and maximum. So because I had 10, so if I give myself 1 level, so I've now got 11. This won't work, no target match selector, because I've got 11. This one won't work because it's a maximum of 10. This one will work, and it found me because it's a minimum of 5. So that's the XP. You can search for game modes. So this is done by the letter M, so it'd be M equals, and you can either do 0, 1 or 2 for the different game modes, or C, A and S. So I don't understand why people would do 0, 1 and 2, because you have to remember which one is which. You can check the wiki for that, but just C, A and S is pretty self-explanatory. Creative, adventure and survival. So if I do this, it will find me because I'm in creative. This one is survival, so I'll just go game mode S and it will find me. This one's adventure, so it won't work yet because I need to go to adventure. And this will, I'll get onto this one. I'll press it so you know it finds me, and then I'll go into creative so you can see the commands. This one was the find adventure, and this one is using the exclamation mark to exclude anyone in creative. So it found me when I was in adventure mode because I wasn't in creative. So you can use that quite a bit, the exclusion. So we'll get on to name. Name, you can search for name equals, I've done entities instead of all players, just so it's easier to show you a variation, but name equals test name. So I've got an understand name, test name, and test name, which is spelled differently, well, spelled the same, but format differently because it's capitals and there's a space. So this is without spaces. If I find him, I found test name. Now if you have a name that you're trying to find that has either spaces, special characters, if you're using the color codes, then you need to put it in quotation marks. So I can find test name, and I found this one. Now this one is how to exclude. So you can put it in brackets. If it's just like the previous one, which was the full word, you don't have to use quotations, but this example is in quotations. So using the exclamation mark, I'm going to find, I keep typing, not used to my keyboard and mouse yet. There we go, found all entities other than test name. So that is the name. Can be handy. You can do R as well. So test for random. So if I want to test for a random armor stand, name equals test name. Then if I have loads of armor stands named the same, it will choose a random one, which can be very useful for a lot of machines out there. Now I'm going to skip to type. So you can choose all the different types. If I do test for all entities, type is only for the entity or the the random. So type equals, and then you get a whole list of different that you can go through. So there's loads of different types of entities. So if I do this will find all the pigs. This is showing you how to exclude it, so using the exclamation mark, so find everything but the pigs. And this one is all entities, and you can build up the exclusion. You can only have one type, but you can have multiple excluded types. So you can only find type equals pig, but you can't find type equals pig, type equals cow. But you can go exclude pig, exclude cow, exclude armor stand, and this will just find me. So I'm the only other entity in this world. So that is the type. I'm going to turn this game rule, and we're going to get to rotation. So this is vertical rotation, RX and RXM, and then horizontal rotation, which is RY and RIM. I just forgot to put the sign down. So this is very tricky, and even advanced people doing commands still get confused with this person that I find. Best is just use the wiki, go to rotation, and have a read through, maybe do a bit more research around the degrees. But I'm using this example for the vertical rotation, so RXM 30, RX 60. We should select all entities looking between 30 and 60 degrees below the horizon. So it takes a lot of testing around. If I turn it on and look down below the horizon, above the horizon, it will it will find me. So that's regardless of my other rotation. So this is up and down rotation, which can be handy for certain things. So that's what the command looks like. And then you've got horizontal rotation. So this one I'm using the example down here, which is -90 and 0 on the RY. Selects all entities facing 90 degrees between due east and due south. So east is there because that's where the sun is, and that means south would be here. So it will test for wherever I'm looking on this angle. So I turn it on, it works, but I turn it off, it doesn't. It does. There we go. If I show you, you can build them up. So if I had them together and looking down, you can set them both off. So you could actually type that all in one. So RYM, RY, RX, RXM all together. That's very confusing. It takes a lot of testing and playing around with. Best way to do it is just like this. Put it in a command block and have a comparator into a lamp, so you can see that it's worked in the rotation that you wanted to find. So I'm just going to turn these off once they're off. So just a quick last note, you would have seen it, but you can build your target selector arguments up. So say if I want to test for all entities, type equals armor stand, name equals testfor, radius equals 5, for example. When I run that, it won't find anything because there's no armor stand name testfor within the radius of me. But if I stand here where test name, not testfor, sorry, I need to do test name anyway. Test name, and it's found test name because he's within a radius of 5 of me there. And if I do that again, show you, it won't work over here. So you can build them up to really define your target selecting. So sorry for the long video, but I wanted to try and get this in one video rather than splitting it into 2 episodes. And apologies again for speeding through it. Please like and subscribe, and any comments below, I'm happy to answer any questions. So thank you very much for watching.